Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here. I'm with Nate, Mr. Famtastic himself. Today it is just the two of us. Unfortunately, the Anarkist could not be with us. Not sure what's up with him. He just said he couldn't do it, so it's just the two of us.
Fuck you, Demetrius.
But he will hopefully be back next week. But we're going to be kicking things off. Past couple of episodes, we've been talking about Black Friday, leading up to Thanksgiving and Black Friday. It just passed for us, and we're going to talk about some of our Black Friday purchases, how things have been this year, crazy stories, this and that. About as normal, as crazy as it has been. Nothing ever really happens, like, we've mentioned it a couple times, but we're in the Metro Detroit area. Nothing really gets crazy out here. Like,
which is hard for people to believe, because
in Detroit,
when you say, "Oh, I live in Detroit," what?
Yeah, people still think it's like a war zone out there. But yeah, nothing's really crazy. There's been some stories in the past couple years, but this year I don't think anything's happened locally that I can think of. That's
not me either.
Blown up.
Yeah, and I didn't have to deal with it this year, which was nice. I mean, I don't know, handling those 4 kids on your own can be fun, but my wife did it, and like I said before, like, man, we were all about the toys, and it really was. There were really some good deals out there. I know she got a Hatchimal, and then so she went with her dad, my father-in-law, and he was with her, and they were getting their carton. They got Hatchimals. The mini ones are really popular too. Mm-hmm. Like, you get them in an egg carton. Yeah. So you get them in an egg carton, and so they had 2 of them in their cart, and they're looking around, and this lady comes over and takes them out of the cart, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And it goes over there and goes, "Ma'am, those are my, those are ours." Yeah. "Oh, they fell, I didn't want to, like, come on."
You turned
like,
away
it's
for
just,
a second. And...
Yeah, so they had to watch the cart like a hound, but I mean, we really dove into Cyber Monday this year. This is really my first year where Black Friday was there, but I didn't include myself in it. Mm-hmm. And Cyber Monday was what I was really excited for and everything. And plus, something that was different this year, they may have done it last year too. Mm-hmm. Amazon matches a lot of the deals.
Okay, I didn't know. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but from what I understand and how my wife kind of explains it, so I could be completely wrong, it's kind of random. Like, they won't tell you, "Hey, we match them throughout the week," and so, like, you go on there and you match them or whatever, and they'll match it. So that's really nice.
That's always cool when companies do that.
Yeah, the hardest thing for us right now is explaining why there's 6,000 boxes being shipped to our house.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, to the kids. It's like,
kids,
these are for
everybody
your
else.
Mimi. Yeah, these are for your Mimi. They're going to the house. Don't worry about it. Or like, today we were out, and I get the emails, "Hey, we just shipped it," or whatever. So I'm like, okay, we gotta go by the house, but go through the back door, and I'll say I have to go to the bathroom or whatever, and so that definitely makes it tougher, because when you're shopping at a brick and mortar, you leave it in the car. You have they may not know you're home yet, whatever. Whatever the case may be, you can drop it off somewhere. But with shipping, like, you either have to choose someone you trust to have it shipped there, and they have to allow you to store your stuff there, or you have to figure it out. So that part's weird, but man, I mean, the deals for Black Friday were really saved us a lot of money. I mean, we were able to get more from our perspective of what the things were cost before Black Friday, you know what I mean? And we were able to get a lot more stuff for our buck, so it was nice.
Yeah, because we had mentioned that a few episodes back, where we talked about basically truly the best deals really are always going to be toys and games. Like, you'll have some good deals. Oddly enough, I saw like some really good deals on TVs this year.
Samsung was having some really good deals on their site. I almost bought a 64K.
Yeah, like, because it was like super
it was
cheap,
like $800, their brand new one,
mm-hmm.
and it was like I think you had to pay $1,200, and then you got a rebate back, and then a gift card. But yeah, I mean, I almost was like
because we saw because my uncle was trying to get a 4K TV at Best Buy, and it was like, I would say like a 50-inch 4K ultra high def, and it was like $250 or something like that, which It's insanely cheap for, you know, a 4K TV.
But that also means that they're going to be coming out with the next best.
Yeah. And that sort of thing, you know, depending on who you are, you know, that can matter. That might not matter. You remember when flat
screens used to be big?
Oh, yeah.
And weigh like 500 pounds, and that was the next best thing, you know, it's the best experience, you know, and now it's mounting TVs.
Yeah, smaller and smaller. There's some TV I saw where I forgot, it's something
LG
where it's like,
has the wallpaper.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I saw that in an actual YouTube video. I have not in person, but I saw a YouTube video. I was like, that's insane. Like, it's so thin.
Dude, it's like having a because I always wanted a projector.
Yeah.
You know, for the family room. And that allows you to have that without the big piece hanging in the thing or dealing with all that, you know, like, but they're freaking sweet.
Yeah, I saw a YouTube video on that. It was like thinner than a pencil or some crazy stuff. Like, it looked insane. I was like, that's just nuts. Like, so fragile, but it just looks so good. But yeah, like, I saw, you know, 4K TVs, and I was like, man, TVs never like piqued my interest, but it was like that actually, you know, those seem like legitimately.
But you ended up getting a camera, right?
Yeah, I bought a camera this year. Normally I go out, I do, you know, my game thing where it's like, all right, this is on sale, that's on sale, and I saw a million different things. For me, like, for people that have or don't have Steam, it's basically, you know, the online gaming site is by Valve, and they always have crazy deals. Like, when it's the holidays or Black Friday, there'll be a summer sale, Christmas, whatever. Their sales will be insane. You get like an insane deal on a million different franchises. So the deals are always there. All the games that I wanted from this year coming out, this version or that version, special edition, whatever. But I was like, yeah, I want to get a new camera because the one I have is almost 10 years old at this point. Yeah, so like I have a DSLR, and I've been thinking about getting a new camera for a super long time. I was like, either I'm gonna get a new lens or I'm gonna get a new camera. And to get a new lens, I didn't think it was worth the value because my camera's so old.
Right.
That
you might as well just get the whole.
Yeah. Because if I got a new lens, even for that old camera, it was still like it was like $200, and I was like, if it's $200 for a new lens for a brand new type of camera, I'll just get a whole new thing. You know, I got like.
What'd you end up getting?
I got the Sony A6300.
Oh,
so that's like it's currently at 6500, so I got the last model.
Okay.
So I got that. I got the camera, and this was all through Best Buy. So I was doing like hours, and I always do this, but it was like 6 hours worth of research and stuff to be like, do I want this camera? Do I want this camera? That. So eventually I was like, all right, I'm gonna get it. Got it off of Best Buy. I got a deal. So I got the camera with the regular lens. I got an extra lens, which is the 55 to 210 lens, which I was like, you know, that was kind of the whole point of looking into having multiple lenses for one camera. Got the bag, and I think I got a SD card for sure, which I got a million of those at this point from having, you know, once you get one camera, you always end up having a million SD cards. So I was like, that's fine, just to have a new one. But I got that. It does 4K, so it would be like my first 4K. One of the big things with my camera is that I have my actual lens. Why I want to get a new one is because mine is dirty. So, and it's dirty like on the end, like I would have to take it to someone to get it taken apart to get mine clean, because it's not just like, clean it like a normal camera. Mine is like on the inside, it's dirty. Depending on my settings, you can see like all sorts of black spots, and I have to edit pictures. So I've been kind of looking into this for a long time. So I was like, all right, I'm finally getting that.
You finally dropped the hammer.
And I was like, all right, that was, I think I want to say that was about 3 or 4 years ago when I got my there's the Sony A77 was the one I got. So I got that, and actually the laptop I'm using, I bought both of them at the same time. So that was like right when I got a bunch of money, because I was still in college. So that was for the refund or whatever for the extra money from loans. So I think that was about $3,000 total. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna get this camera, I'm gonna get this laptop, and start doing stuff with it. It took me a long time to actually get things going. Like I recently started really getting into photography, but I've been using use the camera for my YouTube channel. But I was like, yeah, gotta get a new one. It's not 9 or 10 years old. It does 4K slow motion. Pretty much everything my giant camera does, much smaller too. So
easier to use as well.
Yeah. And it was like, it has all these features, better features even, and it was just like, I'm gonna get this, and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna, next year I'll get like all the games that I want, put some stuff out for Christmas, see what people get me, and then that's about it.
Speaking of like that kind of stuff, this is a little off topic, but we're talking about technology, cameras, like what we like and stuff like that. What's something that you like that no longer exists, that like got beat out by its competition?
Ooh, that is actually super tough, because for me, oh man, I don't know, that's hard to say, because for me, most of my stuff, I'm fine with it changing.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of anything that's gone away where it's like...
Okay, so for me, it's the Amiga. Do you know what that is, the Amiga? It was a computer. So it was a computer back in the 90s, and like you could watch your computer on the TV and all that stuff, and it had like all these things, and it was brilliant, but bad marketing, so it lost out to Microsoft and Apple and all that stuff. And then the other thing that I absolutely loved, and people are gonna tease me about this, is the Zune.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was just funny because you're talking so passionately about it and like all this stuff, and it just reminded me that there's just, you know, you're talking about 10 years old, but yet there's that still same type of camera 10 years later. Like, yeah, you know, it makes me think of products that I absolutely adored and grew up with that just don't.
So what made you like the Zune over like the iPod and stuff?
I liked the feel of it better. Mm-hmm. I liked that it was easier to, well, just like with anything that's not Apple, it was easier to hack, easier to do things with it, easier to download MP3s, all that stuff. Which to me was so funny that it lost to
the iPod. Yeah,
the iPod. I mean, it's so funny to me, but yeah, like that's what I liked about it, is it was easily accessible. You know, I thought it actually worked a little better, but
I think, you know, with that, would you say it's because of, you know, Apple always has this thing, like even today is like Apple the brand.
Yeah.
Would you say it's because it went up against that? Because that was, you know, Microsoft doing their thing with the Zune. And they've done similar stuff like with the phones, which they technically still have phones out. Like didn't Microsoft recently release a new phone? Or maybe within the last 2 years.
I mean, they've tried a few times and failed miserably. But that's because they don't have the branding, and they made the wrong contract choices with apps and all that stuff. You know, so I don't know. Well, the same thing with like Amazon and Google. You know, Amazon tried to come out with a phone, the Fire Stick phone, and it failed miserably. Google's on their second one, and it's very successful right now.
Yeah, like I just saw a commercial for that. Yeah. All right, so yeah, you were talking about as far as the failures in contracts and, you know, Amazon versus what Google did.
Yeah.
My big question, you know, mentioning like the Zune versus the brand of Apple. When the Zune came out, we were at because that was years ago when that happened, but we were still at least 3, maybe 4 iPods in, going, you know, our first iPod, mini, shuffle, and stuff like that. So do you think that was the biggest contender, or do you think it was the failures from the more corporate side, as far as like you mentioned contracts and stuff?
Yeah, well, and I kind of talked about this earlier, where like ideas and things like Boomerang for Cartoon Network, which is a great idea and something that I love. Yeah, those kind of cartoons. But they came in the game late, and then they didn't market well. Mm-hmm. You know, and so I think that's what Microsoft did, because, you know, Samsung, you know, came into the game late with smartphones and all that stuff, and they're now number one. I mean, Motorola was the first smartphone and big one, and, you know, I mean, I still remember getting my first smartphone and trying to hack it and praying that it wouldn't, you know, show that you know, so for me, like, you don't have to have both, but you at least have to have one. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of companies that have survived because they were the first. Mm-hmm. And their marketing's not the best, but they were the first, so people are loyal to them. Then there's companies where the marketing's really good, but they're not always the first. Yeah. But if you don't have one or the other, you know, if you have both, then you're a juggernaut. Mm-hmm. You know, but like, you know, Google started as a search engine. It started as a search engine. I mean, let's be honest here. It started as a search engine. Amazon started as a site to buy stuff on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Netflix started as it was like delivery service. Yeah. You know, and like, people have tried to imitate those type of things, but have yet to be that successful. And it's because those companies, sometimes they have both, but they at least have one of them throughout. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
as they go through, you make those advancements, like you said, with Netflix going from deliveries to streaming. Great example would be Blockbuster not buying Netflix. For people who don't know, that was a big thing. They could have.
Well,
bought
no,
them,
it started because the guy like wanted a movie or something. Blockbuster. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna create my own stuff. That's a genius idea. All right, Blockbuster, this is the idea. No, we don't want it. Okay, I'm gonna run you out of business, and he did.
Yeah, and Blockbuster's gone. So you have those weird opportunities to evolve, and I mean a lot of things are like that where people say that's the stupidest thing, and then of course it's like a multi-billion-dollar idea,
like the Snuggie.
Yeah, yeah. People make fun of it, but
yeah,
people have those like crazy.
Pillow pets.
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, and there are a million little things where it's just like that seems. I mean, it's pretty much any idea. It's always retrospect like crap. That's so simple, and
or ideas that have ruined people, like pets. What was it?
Pet Rock.
No. It was a .com. They had a commercial in the Super Bowl. Pets.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the name.
Yeah, it's Pets something. Remember, I had the puppet thing, and like that ruined a lot of people because that was when tech sites and all that stuff were really big, and so people were putting a lot of money into them.
Yeah. And
this company came up and was like, "Oh, we can do it," and they failed miserably. Lost a lot of people millions of dollars. Yeah. So it can go either way,
And you have that sort of startup idea. You never really know where it's headed, even if you are,
I mean, look at this.
Just starting up, just talking. Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Mm-hmm. At least millions.
Yeah, people doing podcasts.
I mean, there's cons for it now. There's awards. There's award seasons for it. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it'll be like the smallest little thing, and as far as that $1 billion idea, and like going back to the original thing you brought up as far as technology not making it anymore, even with the brand of Microsoft, the Zune just didn't work because of the way they handled it. Even though they are Microsoft, which was like it was still Apple for as far as going way back to computers, it was still Apple first, but then once Microsoft came in, it was Microsoft for a super long time, and then Apple kind of came back, and now they're kind of even as far as computers, but
right.
They don't really touch it as far as the Zune or the phones, doing it that way.
Don't.
They just
it's crazy.
They don't have it work.
Speaking of companies that have been around for a long time and just keep pumping out new products that people freaking love, what's your thoughts on the Nintendo Switch?
I want one. I mean, I know that's the easy answer. I'm the gamer, but the Switch I think is a very interesting story because you have. For Nintendo, they're like, it's Nintendo. Like, there's some crazy statistic where it was like they could be bankrupt for like 20 or 60 or something insane. They have that much money where they can be bankrupt for like 2 decades or more. Yeah. But when the Wii came out, it was like the biggest thing in the universe because it was casual gaming on the grand scale.
I mean, I remember playing with my grandma.
Yeah,
and being like, this is the coolest fucking thing. Because it opened the doors for people who never gamed to be okay. It was like the renaissance of gaming, like when Pong came out and all that stuff, and there was all kinds of people playing it,
And oddly enough, it was Nintendo doing that.
Yeah.
Because the NES, to do like a little bit of gaming history, when the NES came out, games were definitely in a slump. Like games were kind of going away, and then
it's still thought of like as a kid. Phase.
And it was like starting to decline because it was we had the Atari era and all that stuff, and it was like arcades still exist, but everything's on the sharp decline. And then Mario came out, and it just like changed everything. And Mario, and then Legend of Zelda, and Metroid, and Nintendo just brought back gaming grand scale, and then it became what it is. Yeah. And then they basically did that again when the Wii first came out with casual gaming because everyone was buying it. Like you couldn't. That was like the big thing. You could not get a Wii because everyone was buying it.
Crazy amounts of money for one.
Yeah, and it was like everyone has. It's like Wii Sports is the simplest thing in the universe. Bowling
so
and boxing.
I mean, my kids
and golf.
play that. I mean, I have a Wii, and the reason I have a Wii is because if I want to play a hardcore game, I can get addicted to a game easily on the Wii and binge my gaming or whatever. But at the same time, if I just want to play some bowling with the kids,
it's all right there. Then Wii Sports has multiple games too, and it came with the console. It was one of the best decisions they really made. And then you go from that to the Wii U, and that didn't really do so well. Yeah, that's like the big thing with Nintendo right now, where they've kind of come back from that slump, because the Wii was insanely huge for what it did, and then the Wii U came out, and
the Wii Mini actually sold better than the Wii U. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it did. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know the statistics.
Yeah, I don't know offhand either. But
admittedly,
I remember seeing something
I would not be surprised
where,
by that.
Where like when they came out with the limited edition red, and it came with the Super Nintendo, Super Mario, and all that. Like, I think it did sell better than the U.
Yeah,
and I had the U, and I was like, all right. I mean, I liked it because I love the Sega Dreamcast. That's my favorite console. Favorite console. It was so ahead of its time. It was. Yeah. I loved that thing. They didn't know what they were doing, and you could tell with like the remote and stuff. And that's kind of what I felt with the U was, it was transitioning to this great product
that the
Switch is, because I don't have one either because I'm worried my kids are gonna break the crap out of it. But I've played it, I've messed, and it is it's genius.
Mm-hmm.
It's genius. I mean, it's absolutely genius. And then to pair it with them coming out over on Apple with their mini games, and you can link to stuff and all, like it's genius.
Yeah, and like, what they did with the Wii. Like, I have a Wii U as well. I love the Wii U. Like, it's one of those consoles where it's like people haven't. It's like, I haven't played it on the Wii U in however long, and for me, it's like it is kind of like that. Like, I have a couple of games that have like Bayonetta 2. I could only get on the Wii U. Like,
right.
I love Bayonetta.
Right,
Like, it's
and
one
you
of my
talked
favorites.
about that.
Yeah. So it's like I have to get a Wii U for that. You have to get a Wii U for Smash Brothers. That's, the be-all, end-all pretty much is Smash Brothers.
Right, but see, the thing about Smash Brothers, and one of the faults of Nintendo is that they keep bringing out premium products for each of their thing. I love Super Smash Brothers, but my favorite way to play it is on the GameCube.
Yeah.
It's the Cube, period. And, I think that's kind of what they learned about with the U is, they tried to do the same thing they did with the Wii and bring the GameCube games with them. So it's an easy transition. Hey, you're not wasting all this money on new games. You can just buy the system with this one game, and then your son or daughter or whoever that has a stash of GameCube games can still play it on the new system.
Yeah. And that, that went away when the Wii U came out.
Yeah. And then now essentially they kind of brought it back.
Yeah, a little bit. They did. And like you mentioned with the GameCube thing, they knew that people like to play it. We're using the GameCube controller, so there's the adapter for Smash Brothers on the Wii U. I recently heard, I'm pretty sure I heard this and it was real, but they are making an adapter for the Switch for GameCube controllers, which I have to assume is for whatever the next Smash Brothers game is going to be.
Yeah.
And who knows how long that'll continue on with them keeping in line with the GameCube deal. But yeah, the Wii U has, its hits, and it has, like its moments, I guess, more than anything. But
I mean, the cool thing I liked about it is like you could like for Mario Kart could drive and you could see the map on you got more play screen, and all the clutter and stuff is down on the pad, on the pad, which is cool. But the Switch, man, like, I don't know, I almost bought one. Almost. I just Nintendo product for that much money, man. I mean, that's the other thing that threw me off, but made me realize that the Switch was really good. I guess it was the price, because Nintendo's always been like, listen, you can go and get a fancy Xbox or and you can spend $400, $500, or you can come with us. It's a lot of fun to play, and we're half the price. But that wasn't the case with the Switch. You know what I mean? I mean, it's up there, for sure. What, 4?
No, I want to say it's 3. I want to say it's 3 something, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but still, that's...
Yeah, it's more than the Wii U, I think, capped at, I want to say 3, and this is like 350, if not, more. But yeah, it's... Because I remember when it was first coming out, it was like, the gyros and stuff like in the controllers, how like the sound effects, they showed a little demonstration, like you can hear, because of how they have it set up so detailed in the controllers, you can hear like how many ice cubes are like, you can hear it, like stuff like that. It's very innovative, and they're always doing some stuff. A lot of it has failed, like even with the Wii, they had like, I remember the big thing is always the heart sensor.
Multiplayer. I mean, essentially, I mean outside of the arcade realm, but for a home, I mean they created multiple players, not 2, but more than that, and innovated that way, which drove the gaming system in that route. Yeah,
and they're the ones that are always innovating. they're the ones that started the idea of motion controls.
Yep.
Completely. They had it even in the Nintendo. There are like the Power Glove and stuff like that.
Who do you think had more of an effect? Now, long lasting, probably Nintendo, but Sega. I mean, when we talk about revolutionizing games and stuff like that, you've got to talk about Sega.
Yeah.
I mean, the Sega Saturn was way ahead, but they didn't know how to market. I mean, that was always Sega's problem. They didn't know how to market, because I think the Sega Saturn was supposed to release after or was it the Dreamcast? And they ended up releasing it like that day, and it was all weird, and people couldn't find it, and
like it was some weird. I can't remember the specifics, but there's definitely some weird stuff with like the Saturn, and then of course you have the Sega CD, which didn't really do much because that was the expensive attachment to stuff. So they definitely did some innovative stuff. I mean, they were the ones to rival Nintendo at the time. They were the first ones to do that, and then going, like you said, up to the Dreamcast, which I do love too. Like, some of my favorite games have been on Dreamcast where...
Crazy Taxi, I could play all
exactly.
day
Crazy
long.
Taxi.
Tokyo Drift,
Power Stone I first played on there, which I recently played when I went to the anime convention a few weeks back. They had the arcade versions of Power Stone 1 and 2.
That's cool.
And like my cousins and I, because that was like before Smash Brothers, it was Power Stone 2, and we played the crap
Capcom versus
Marvel versus Capcom. I remember that being the console I always played that on was Dreamcast before I ever really played it on PlayStation or anywhere else. But it is one of those things, like you mentioned as far as being innovative. I would, like you said, long lasting. I would always say Nintendo. Like, they are the ones that literally saved the gaming industry. Back with the NES, they are the ones that kicked off motion controls, and Microsoft and Sony tried to follow behind them, and then that continued to fail, and slowly
has failed, right? I mean,
it's gone, especially for Microsoft. Going back to Microsoft with the Kinect.
But Microsoft's smart as well. Like, when they see something not working, they're just like.
But it still took a long time before they did it. That was on... I mean, they started with the 360, then the Xbox One originally came with the Kinect when it first was like the first version of the Xbox One.
Well, remember they chose ROG with Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Because you could get
HD.
They did HD,
DVDs,
which has always baffled me that HD, not popular with discs and all that stuff, Blu-ray, but everything else is HD.
I don't know. I think it was just the fact that because
remember
that's
when people called PlayStation dead in the water. I mean, I remember that people are like, "We're not even PlayStation isn't even gonna blow our mind. Like, they're dead in the water. They're behind the times. They're not gonna do anything." And then
it was Blu-ray versus HD DVD.
Yeah, and Blu-ray took off.
Yeah, and especially with Microsoft having with HD DVD, you had to. I remember you had to buy an attachment. It wasn't in the Xbox. It was still just DVD.
Yeah.
And then you had to buy an extra thing to play HD DVDs. And with, of course, PS3 coming out, it was a Blu-ray player. It was like, here's a
$400 product, but the Blueray's $200, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
separated. Yeah, it's already there.
Right.
So games and Blu-ray and I'm pretty sure PS2 came out before Xbox anyway. So they were the first ones to have DVDs as well. The first console to do that. And the first PlayStation, you could play music and that sort of thing if you.
But you could play music on the Sega Saturn. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
and the Dreamcast too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, right?
I'm pretty sure you could, on the Dreamcast, and I guess that did come out before PS2. Yeah, the Dreamcast did. So
well, it came out before. Because I may have misspoke. Did it come out before the GameCube?
I'm pretty sure it did.
So it was the first multiplayer.
I think they're in the same realm, but I think the Dreamcast was first. And then that, unfortunately failed. And then I think because I'm trying to remember how it went back then, but I want to say the PS2 was the first of that generation.
Yeah.
And then GameCube, and then the first Xbox came out after that. Because I remember getting an Xbox, and I was like, I didn't want an Xbox when it first came out, because I was like, there was nothing that I really wanted on Xbox. I was like, I don't... It was nothing for me. But over the years, it definitely had some great games, but... kind of going all the way back to where we were with the Switch, I feel like they've continued to do some innovative stuff with that, and it's kind of good to see, because that was a big worry, because so many people were talking about how the Wii U wasn't doing that great. Like, I want to say it was either the NES Classic or the SNES. I think it was the NES Classic. When that came out, it sold better than the Wii U.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, within the course of the first month it came out, I think it sold better, or I think it sold like half the units of the entire Wii U lifespan within the course of a month or two.
I think Nintendo went back to its roots with the Switch too, because one of the first words I think about with Nintendo is nostalgia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, most people, their first experience, at least my generation, is with a Nintendo.
Yes, a Nintendo console, whether it is Nintendo or Super Nintendo.
It's Nintendo.
Yeah.
Right.
And they do have, inarguably, honestly, the most recognized characters. Like, Mario will always be the first person to come up. It'll be Mario. Maybe Sonic might be number 2.
Not anymore. Maybe 5-10 years ago, but I don't. I just don't think Sonic holds what it used to.
Yeah, and I guess that's true as far as generational stuff. I think, I don't know. It's hard to say because Sonic's gone into the realm of like TV shows and stuff. So
that's
for
true
younger
too.
Kids. So it's
and
a
then
weird sense of it, the recognition. I mean, but
I don't know. I would say that Mortal Kombat characters.
Okay, yeah, I could see that too. Because Mortal Kombat came out in '92.
The movie came out in what, 94?
It may have been later than that. I'd go with 96 because I don't know if it was popular. Well, I don't know. It was Mortal Kombat. I don't know if the movie came out 2 years after the first game, but yeah, like, you know, talking about recognition, it will always go to Mario first. Everyone's gonna know that theme. Everyone's gonna know Mario. If they don't know Link or Zelda, if they don't know that Link is not Zelda, which is still
but that's still a running joke, right?
But it like, you know, it will always go back to Nintendo, and I think even though it might not be like the Wii where it was as casual as it was, I think they've still done a lot with it.
Well, they innovated in a different realm, so they captured an audience that was untapped, and I think they've captured another audience that for the gaming industry has been untapped as a combined console. And that's the gamer who games on the TV and games mobilely. Yeah. And that was right. And you know, they've always kind of had that market. And then the PSP, you know, there's been people who tried to do stuff. But like for Nintendo, they were innovative. I mean, you can literally be playing a game and go, oh man, I gotta go to the restroom or something. You know, I gotta go to my room or whatever, and take it with you. Yeah, and that's really cool. Yeah, and it works compared to the idea of it with the Wii U, because that was one of the things when the Wii U was first coming out. I was like, oh, you can play the game here, but you can also play it on the tablet. But that's only with certain games. Because when it was first coming out, it was like, oh, that's going to be cool because you can leave and but it was only certain. Yeah,
and it was like the Mario games. You could do that, and then that was a couple other games where you could actually walk away, and even then, it would still have to be a certain distance within the house. And now it is the console itself, and you take it and you can charge it. You know, like I can tell you how many YouTube videos I was watching where people are like, you know, I'm at the airport and I just got my Switch, so I'm playing at the airport, I'm playing on the plane. And that is that new innovation. That's not even all of it. That's one of them.
Well, and it eliminates one of the big fears of your gaming industry in that sense of how popular mobile games are. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
and Nintendo had it anyway, so right. You know, and for other companies, if they were the ones to do that, I think it would have been an even bigger impact. Like if it was Sony or Microsoft, specifically Microsoft, because Sony at least did have the PSP and Vita. Yeah. If it was Microsoft that did this, that would be...
failed miserably too by choosing the mini discs.
The little UMDs. Yeah. And I think it was was it like the PSP Go? Because I know there were 3 versions.
Yeah, and then they said, well, we can't do that, so we'll try the phone. Because I got the phone, the PlayStation phone. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
It was what, 5 years ago? 6?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it had to have been 6 because I was still dating my wife, so it was about a little over 6 years ago, and I was so excited to get it, man. Oh my, I was like, I'm getting it. You know, and I got it, and it freaking sucked so bad because it was limited, and then the phone itself actually sucked, and like it just didn't know if it was a game system or a phone.
Trying to do the best, jack of all trades.
It was trying to, but my point is that Nintendo is doing it right. You know, with the Switch, when I saw the Switch and how much it was, and it was coming out, I mean, what, 2 years after the U, right? Or 3? 2?
I think the Wii U came out
2013.
It's been more than 3 years. It's been like 4. It's been about 5.
5?
I think it has been shorter than most
Yeah.
consoles because of how it played out. I do think it's had I think the Wii U did have a shorter lifespan than most consoles.
Yeah, but it's a really good. I mean, you know what I mean? Like it seems to be doing really well, and
and they're innovating on what they already had as far as because one of my favorite games on the Wii U is Splatoon.
Okay.
That was like Nintendo, because the big thing with Nintendo, it's either the classic IPs where it's Mario, Legend of Zelda. Maybe you'll get a Metroid game every once in a while. We recently had the Metroid 1 remake on 3DS. But Splatoon came out and it was like finally a new IP that was strictly Nintendo. And that is just so fun. It's all it is a shoot 'em up game with paint. Like you paint the map.
Oh my gosh, it's so much fun.
It's like one of my favorite games ever. And I was like, in all honesty, when I knew that the Switch was coming out and Splatoon 2 was like one of the first games announced, I was like, I want it for Splatoon 2. Like, at the time, I didn't care about, I still want the new Mario game, Mario Odyssey, which has gotten great reviews.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild has great reviews, and I just want to get those on the Switch. But Splatoon 2 was like, I need the Switch for that game, because I love the first one so much, and I was like,
and that goes back to us, like, Nintendo just seems to know what they're doing. If a product doesn't do well, they don't waste time.
Yeah.
They don't. They're not, they might try to see a different thing, like the 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
There's
like 5 versions of that thing. There's like the 3DS, XL, the 2DS, which I still think that's crazy, but that sells. It still sells.
It's just crazy how they have been able to survive for
as long as they have, because
30 plus years now.
Yeah, I mean they started. They had before games, they were a company.
Yeah,
and then they evolved into games.
I mean, because a lot of misconception is the first time you ever see Mario is in an arcade game. Yeah, with Donkey Kong. And now it's crazy to think that our generation or generations after us see them as two completely separate entities. Yeah. When they started together, like Nintendo just knows how to do it.
Yeah, they do, and they find that niche that ends up not being so niche. Right? Like it seems that way, and then it's like, no, this is huge. Like they'll have with the Wii, it'll be the one standard console.
Have you heard about this Mario character? Like it's so awesome. Have you heard about Nintendo? And everybody, you know what I mean? Like it feels like it was made just for you.
Yeah, like it'll be,
but it's not
like the Wii. It'll be the one console where it had the huge issue of it's not standard def. That was when we were like first getting into high def. That was when PS3, 360, everything looks really awesome and stuff. And then the Wii is still standard definition, and the Mario games look great. Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 look great on the Wii. Like their games look super awesome.
But, I mean, we were just talking about it, like the sports games, the ball. I mean, you got that kind of graphics 10 years before that. You know what I mean? And so but for them to be able to everybody has a Wii. Yeah.
Like they find that market that is untapped.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the shortcomings of, this isn't high definition or this is the crappy version. Because that was the thing with the Wii, even though it sold like crazy, it was that thing that kind of, in a sense, turned away hardcore gamers because there's what's known as shovelware. The crappiest, weirdest games, like anything that's ever existed has a game on the Wii. And it's just horrible.
Yeah, like you do have to wade through a lot of crap.
Yeah,
but Nintendo's always been like that. I mean, they've always one of my favorite games for the Super Nintendo is Lion King and Aladdin, just because it has a special place in my heart. You know what I mean? But those games weren't any good.
Well, I don't know. I like the Aladdin game. I played that on Genesis because my cousin had that. Yeah, had the Aladdin game on Genesis. But with that innovation that they have, they always find a way to do it. I think, like I said, with the Wii, they hit the casual market and it was just like gangbusters for them, and that was all they needed because everybody's buying it. Even with the people who are hardcore gamers, there are those games there. There was a Smash Brothers, there were the Mario games, there were the Legend of Zelda games that were still there. to get. And there are some other games that came out eventually as well.
007.
Yeah. And then the Wii U comes out, and it was like that first step towards what we now have with the portable gaming. And I still love the idea, the fact that they had the gamepad, because I was like, man, it's, honestly, when the Switch came out, I still thought, oh, it sucks that there's no longer, that screen in your hand, because that just changed so much. Like you said,
right.
More screen for like on the actual TV and stuff like that. It changed how you could play multiplayer, because someone, it could do different screens. The TV would be 4 people, and then one person would be on the pad. They would have a totally different job. So like that allowed them to do a lot of unique things. It's just that it didn't really hit that market like it was supposed to.
Yeah.
And now we're going kind of back to what they did with the Wii, but for hardcore gamers. It's not as casual, but they're kind of mixing the best of both worlds with the Wii as well as the Wii U. And now they have all this innovative, casual stuff, if you want to call it, but it's amazing as far as the best version of motion controls that they've ever had. Going back to, the first year, of the Switch was like heavy hitters with Zelda, Mario, Splatoon 2. Even though that's newer, it's still a huge thing. And they're going into just more and more games coming out, of course, and getting into finally being in the same league as the high def stuff. It puts them up there and beyond a little bit, because they're in the high def. They're getting, it's like, oh crap, Skyrim is here for the 8 millionth time. Doom is now on the Switch. Stuff like that, like crazy things like that. It was like, oh, it's stuff you just don't expect for Nintendo. But
Nintendo's smart with that, because that's how they have become the juggernaut. Because Microsoft and Sony have found their niches. You know what I mean? I mean, they found their niche with exclusive games, like you were talking about earlier. Starting off with certain stuff and all that, and exclusively on this and exclusively on that. But Nintendo has gotten really smart, where they buy companies or not companies, but licenses from games that were really popular 20 years ago. Well, those are the people with lots of money now. Yeah. Those people have kids now. You know what I mean? So they're like, okay, well, let's buy this license.
Yeah, you'll have
and
that
boom,
nostalgia,
we're gonna we're gonna put it in there, and it'll happen.
Because with the Wii, they had the Wii Shop, where it was like, that was the first time it was like, here's all the nostalgic games that you used to love, and now you can get the digital versions of them. You can get Contra, you can get the old Mario games, and all that stuff. That's just digital.
What's crazy is that's honestly one of the reasons why it took me so long to switch to an Apple phone. Was because on Android you could play Super Mario and Zelda and Donkey Kong and all this stuff.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Version,
yeah. So I don't know, man. Yeah, I'll buy the Switch, I guess.
Yeah, I would say yes. I just, I definitely want one, and we're in this really weird era now of games with high definition. You have the PS4 Pro being 4K. I think it's just 4K movies. Yeah, it has some 4K games. And now you have the Xbox One X, which is officially 4K games and video, because the One S was just video. Yeah. Weird stuff like that.
Well, I think they took a page off of cell phones, or smartphones. Because smartphones do that.
Yeah, the small upgrades.
The small stuff, like, the iPhone stuff, or iPhone 6, and then the iPhone 6S. Like, it's a newer version. But the companies are telling us, hey, it's a newer version. It's still kind of the same thing, but it's a better version of that.
And, that was kind of the thing when that was happening. And we don't have to talk too much more about this. We can go to another topic to kind of, end this episode out. But when that was first coming out, where it's like, oh, the Xbox One is now having the One S, and now currently the X, and then the PS4 is getting the PS4 Pro, where it's not just, like we've had PS2 had like PS2 Slim. Yeah. After a while, it was like, oh, it's just a smaller version. But now it's a different version where you can play a better looking version of the game, and the same for Xbox, where it's this crazy idea of, like you said with phones, it's the best version of it. But if you buy any game for the Xbox One X, that same CD will still work on the S as well as the original Xbox One. It just won't look as good. And it's that weird thing where it's like, is that gonna change gaming for the better or for the worse? And it's that really weird thing, because that almost reaches into something that I know people hate, which is like Game of the Year editions, where it's like, here's this great game, 8 months later, before the year's even ended, it's the complete version of the game has come out, stuff like that. So it doesn't reach that same territory because, of course, it's actual upgraded consoles, but we're in this really weird area. Like, I knew I wasn't going to get an Xbox One S because I was like, well, the Xbox One X is coming out, even though it'll be way more expensive. I'll just wait for that to be as cheap. Like, even though I want these certain games that I can't play because they're only on Xbox, I'll just wait because this is the 4K version. Eventually, I'll have enough money for that instead of just buying the lesser version.
Right.
You know, it's just like...
And see, I think that's why Nintendo kind of stays around, because they're not quite jumping on that bandwagon. And you know, basically, what you just said is Microsoft is coming out with so much and doing so much little tweaks and putting out a new system that it's kept you from buying one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, growing up and up until, 5 years ago, like, you had to wait a long time for a new system.
Yeah.
You had to wait a while.
It would be about 6 years.
Yeah. And now you're getting new game systems way less than that in that time frame. And, you know, that's one of the reasons I got out of it.
You don't know what to get.
You don't know what you're getting, and you can't afford that, man.
Yeah, exactly. And
you know?
You have to kind of pick and choose, you know, what you want first, which is why I have a PS4 over an Xbox One.
Right.
And then, you know, thinking like, okay, at some point I want an Xbox One and get the games that I haven't been able to get because they're only on that. And it was like, well, the S is out, and then they're going to announce this year. I was like, well, I'll just wait the extra year. I've already waited this long. I think I can handle it. So eventually I'll get an Xbox One X where it's all 4K and all that stuff. But yeah, it's those weird little increments, and that just makes me wonder what the next console generation is going to be like. Like, am I going to be more cautious? Am I going to wait just to see if it's going to be like that, where I'm just going to wait? Just like with certain games, I'll wait till the complete version comes out because I know there will be one.
Yeah.
Am I going to start doing that with consoles now? And that's really weird because it'll still be, because I think before the S came out, it was still about 2, if not 3 years with the original Xbox One.
Yeah.
So that's still a decent chunk of time to wait and be like, I don't know if they're going to do a new version where it's 8K now or something. Yeah. So do I just wait for that, or, you know, and then ultimately it gets up to the point where it doesn't matter. You know, we talked about visuals and stuff like that a few weeks ago, but eventually it just gets to that point where
it's like the 4K. Like, I don't know, man. I like my TV that I have now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, do I need to see like each bead of sweat and the dimples, and like at what point does it get, you know, crazy? Like, or I just don't know why. I don't know. Like, we went and we took the kids to see Polar Express today, and it was 3D.
Okay.
And you know, I know that was. They were trying to push that for a while on TV, and I just don't think the market was ready for it yet. I think they are now, but I don't think they were ready for it then. It was amazing. It was awesome, man. It was to watch my kids just be enthralled and like look around, and we actually had an old couple come up to us and go, "We've been doing this for years, and this was our best experience because we got to hear those kids' reactions and see them because they were sitting in front of us." And they were like, we were just listening to them talk about Santa and, you know, all this stuff that they were seeing and how real the snow felt, and like, can you touch it, and all this stuff. And like, that's an experience that I don't want to have every day because it's so magical, you know? So at what point do I allow my home entertainment to match that? Does that make sense? Like, it's like, I don't want my kids
like too much of a good thing,
right? And I don't want my kids to A, get used to it, or B, not want to leave the house because everything they have is
exactly where
right exactly where they're at.
Yeah.
Right? You know. So like, I think that's part of it too. Is like, at some point you're just like, man, if I want this type of technology or whatever, I want the experience that comes along with it.
Yeah. And you know, that's where like you bringing up the 3D thing. That was definitely something that was pushed really, really hard when it first came out. It was every movie was 3D TVs. You could rent movies on demand in 3D. I remember playing a game where they made a joke about how it was going to end up being a fad, and they were totally right. And this was like a post-apocalyptic game. I was like, what's that? I was like, oh, it's just a stupid fad. And it was like a bunch of 3D TVs.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, they definitely called it. And they put that in their game, and they were 100% correct about that.
Yeah.
And it just...
Man, I forgot how...
It was huge.
But at the same time, now it's a nostalgia piece. Like, because, you know, like, after we saw the movie, we're in the car, and we're talking about it, and I looked at the wife, and I said, man, we got to do this every year now. Like, it's one of those things where, like, but I don't want it all the time.
Yeah, because even games were pushing 3D.
Yeah, they were
pretty hard. Like, because that was.
Was it? I was thinking, was it Sony?
Yeah, it
that
was
like pushed it hard. Yeah. Like you could get the glasses for the system and like all that stuff. Yeah,
like they had specific TVs. You know, I think without a doubt it was Sony. I'm sure there are other brands.
Yeah.
But Sony was like, we have our console. You can play this game in 3D and this and that, and it was definitely Sony pushing that hardcore. And you know, it's still a cool concept. Like I had the first Batman Arkham Asylum game. They have it was like actual 3D color glasses where it was like green and purple. So that was I could play in 3D, which I thought was really cool. But it wasn't like the full clear regular colors 3D.
I forget how much I like it because the last time, this will show my age and how not often I go to the movies, but the last movie I was like engulfed like that was Avatar.
Mm-hmm. And that was the first big 3D thing.
Yeah, and it was incredible. And then I went and I saw Dark Knight, just in IMAX, not in 3D, okay. And it was just as awesome. I'm like, oh, I don't need to pay the extra $3
for 3D. And sometimes it works, and that was the thing with that big push. Everything was in 3D, even though it like didn't really matter. Like it wouldn't even be real 3D.
It even changed how they filmed movies.
Yeah.
For a few years. You know what I mean?
So some things would be shot in 3D, and that's how you kind of knew it was just that big push, because a lot of things would just be converted to 3D.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be like true 3D, and then there would be some things where it's like, okay, that's actually good 3D. Like Avatar was meant to be 3D. That 3D experience, and so
was Polar Express. I mean,
like
because I'd never seen it. I'd never seen it in 3D until today.
Okay.
And I loved that movie anyway, and we watched it every year. And the wife would always say, "Oh, you got to see it in 3D. It's just not the same. It's not the same." I'm like, "Whatever. It is the same. Whatever." And we watched it today, and I will never watch it. And I want that experience. I want to be able to go and do that with the kids or with the grandkids in the future or whatever. Like I want that experience. I don't want that in my house.
Yeah. And it's with it having been a fad and having been this weird,
because I thought 4K was going to be a fad, the curved TV 4K stuff and all that, and it's not. I mean, it's
that. Yeah, I think the reason for that is 3D is that cool step where it's like, oh, that's pretty awesome. I think 4K is just legitimate, like that's just naturally an actual upgrade. Just like going to HD in general.
3D, I mean, you got to put the glasses on, and after you take them off, you do have to readjust to life, to like real world stuff. Like I remember today coming out, and I had to take an Advil because I had a small headache. Yeah, you know what I mean. So like I think that was part of it too. Why it wasn't so successful or a fad is because it was a little bit of extra work, or like if you, I mean, and those glasses were what, like $100, $50, something like that.
Yeah,
I think
the home version.
So if you lost that, I mean, think about how many times you lose the remote, let alone some glasses that you wear every once in a while.
Yeah. So it's definitely one of those interesting things where it was around for a minute and was huge, but all fads are, like fidget spinners. It was just there and now it's gone. It just is what it is. But yeah, you can enjoy that experience. Like I always thought, even when it was a fad, I always thought CG movies were useful for 3D. Like I think CGI movies where it's Toy Story, those sort of deals, I think those always work, even if they're not meant to be in 3D. I feel like those always work. It's better when it's made that way. But it's always better than like
I have a
live action
with computer animation. Okay. Like I remember my mind being blown when I was 12, 10 maybe, and just being like, oh my gosh. And the story was really good too. I mean, that helps, with Toy Story and stuff. And my dad was an art teacher at that time. And he had like timeline of art. So like, you know,
Like
Asian art,
Cubism and
Egyptian,
stuff. Okay.
animation, and then this, and he's like, this is where it's gonna stop. So this is
The peak,
this is, you're gonna see this all the time. I'm like, no. So like, I think that's why I have such an affection for anime, and why I kind of turn my head now that anime's kind of gone CG a little bit, especially the mainstream stuff, is because, man, when you watch I mean, South Park's a great example. You know, like when you see the work that was put into that and the dedication, like it makes it that much better. I mean, you know, for people who don't know, South Park was a stop animation show. And a lot of people thought it was a joke when they did the movie, and they're like, the greatest technology and all that. It literally was the greatest technology at the time to make that movie so that they could do it in a timely manner. You know, episodes, if you watch interviews and all that stuff, episodes, they were like finishing 10 minutes before, you know, the due, because they were stop motion. And, you know, to find a way that makes it faster and easier is good, but at the same time, like, I love hand-drawn. I love
hand-drawn animation.
Animation is my favorite. I mean, CG is really cool. Like, my favorite's probably Bug's Life, if we're talking about that. But I mean, other than that, man, like, I love it. Like, it's prettier to me. It takes more work. It's more artistic, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that.
Because animated movies has always been popular. And the way I look at it is, animated movies have always been like popular and stuff like that. But when it was primarily hand-drawn, it was a select few. It was hard to do, whatever. But now you've got schools all over the place. You've got degrees. I think it takes, 2 years, 6 months?
Yeah, something like that. You can learn.
And you can learn how to make something on a computer. And for me, that just takes away from the art of what animation is supposed to be.
I can see that for sure. And you know, there's that weird style of, you know, like you said, CG versus hand-drawn animation. A great example, to go back to games for a quick second, is Cuphead. Have you heard of that game?
No.
It is basically, if you want to look it up, I think you'll really love it. But
okay.
It is drawn. It's hand-drawn animation, and it looks like old school Disney. Like the whole game.
Oh my gosh.
Is hand-drawn.
Because you know how much I love 13, so.
Yeah, it's like the whole game is hand-drawn animation, and that's why it took forever for the game to come out.
Sure.
It is legitimately hand-drawn,
like,
and it's insane how amazing it legitimately looks.
One of the things I hate is, what was the last, you may not know this because you're age too, but what was the last hand-drawn Disney princess movie? Like, legit.
Like, all hand-drawn I'm sure it would be before I was born.
No.
No? I don't know. Would it be Lion King or Aladdin?
Princess and the Frog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See,
but think about how, you know what I mean? Like, that was one of their selling points. It's an original
when I think about it now, yeah.
Princess movie. Well, man, we used to get those pumped out to us all year.
Yeah, that was.
You know what I mean?
That was animation. Yeah, I've heard, because that was one of the ones I never. Well, I was much older when that came out, but
I have kids, so
yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, because I can just think of the trailer. It's like, oh yeah, that you can tell how hand drawn.
Yeah,
is. Like,
and
it definitely looks that way.
Like I don't know, man. Like, technology to me, I mean, the original point was, do you just get to a point where it's just like. And I think we've gotten, maybe not with TVs, but with animation, I feel like we've gotten there. Where it's just like, okay, how much more? I mean, I hate to keep bringing this up, but Polar Express, like, because it was CGI, they were able to make the people they wanted to make look real, and in the situations look real. Mm-hmm. But then, like, you've got the hot chocolate scene where, like, it's very animated and magical and all that stuff, and, like, that's cool, and I like that, but give that to me hand-drawn, and it's even more incredible. It's even more, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just gotten to a point where I'm just like, that's not talent anymore. It's creative, and the stories are good, and all that stuff, but I just don't know if it's talent.
It feels more,
you know
industry.
What I mean? Like,
more industry than
and with CGI you can look at pictures and match them up and put them on the computer and do all that. For the Lion King, they literally had to bring in lions for the people to draw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Technology sucks sometimes.
And that's kind of what.
But what about you? Because you're 25,
I'm
right?
25, yeah.
So did you grow up on hand-drawn or CGI or both, really?
For me, I guess it would have to be both, because for me, one of the earliest movies I did watch, just along with Lion King and Aladdin, was definitely Toy Story. It was there when I was really young. So for me, growing up on all of it, I still recognize it, and I think for me, it may have been because of anime that I recognize hand-drawn so much now compared to when I was younger, and it was just, this is basically 2D versus this is 3D or
right.
CG. But I definitely notice it now. Like, I can watch older movies, one of the most famous anime movies, Akira. They put like a ton of money. That's like one of the most expensive anime movies ever made, and there are scenes that are hand-drawn where there's a shot where they're like walking past a building, and like there's a building in the background, and it's hand drawn, but it looks three-dimensional. Like you can see every square of the windows go away as they're walking, and the perspective changes around this building. And there's a scene where someone gets shot, and it's like so ridiculously detailed and stuff like that. So I definitely noticed that. And there's still movies this day that are done where it's like, this will just be 2D, but it'll have millions thrown at it, and it'll just be like, crap, that looks insane. Yeah. And even some anime have that as well. But for me, I still notice it.
Do you think it's dying, or do you think it'll always be around? Because I was, while you were talking and stuff like that, and you were talking about what you grew up on, and you had a mix of Toy Story and stuff. I mean, my kids like anime because let's be honest, not force them, but you're watching. Dad, what are you gonna pick tonight? Well, I'm gonna pick something I somewhat like the Iron Giant's one of my freaking favorites, and so they know that movie really well. Pokemon, anime stuff. They like the classic Disney stuff like that. But like when they, for example, when they think of Beauty and the Beast, they think of the live action. When they think of Disney, they think of Doc McStuffins and Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and all this CGI stuff and computer animated stuff. And it's weird, man, because when I think of Disney, I don't think of any of that stuff.
Yeah, it was all. It was the pinnacle of hand-drawn animation at the time, because it was, kind of in this out real quick because we're at our hour mark, because not to go super long, but it was like the pinnacle of hand-drawn stuff. Like Looney Tunes came after, and that was a different type of style where it was hand-drawn and stuff like that. But Disney is kind of where that started with hand-drawn animation, and that's kind of where that old school silly, the bouncing style, I forgot the actual name of it, but where characters are always bouncing and stuff to the music. That's kind of where that goes. Like, it's either that or I might think of Betty Boop. If I'm not thinking Disney, I'll think Betty Boop. Yeah. But that's like where that came from, and you'd have, then
it's
the
movies.
It's crazy to think
that you don't think of Hanna-Barbara.
And like I said, I guess that's true. And I guess because for me, I guess I go in a weird chronological sense.
They're a dead company in a sense,
But I guess for me, because I was going just chronologically, it was Disney, and then Looney Tunes did come up before Hanna-Barbera. Yeah, and then that's when Hanna-Barbera came in, and Scooby-Doo and all that for people who don't know. But,
and Hanna-Barbera was part of Cartoon Network for a long time, too. Yeah. But, yeah, it's crazy to think that where technology has changed how we view things, how we see things, how we hear things, it's insane. And your question of is too much, when is too much, like I don't know, man. I think we're living it and we just don't know. Think about it. I'm talking on my phone with headsets, with a phone sitting right next to me, with a laptop. Yeah. You know what I mean? Dude, technology is everywhere. Everywhere. Earlier we had to stop because of technology. Yeah. 30 years ago,
someone would have to walk in.
Exactly. So it's just crazy to think that. It's crazy that, back when I was a kid, it was, don't let your TV be the babysitter, Now it's don't let the iPad or the phone, we were at the mall because for some reason my oldest loves the mall. There was a family, maybe a 10-year-old and his two parents, and they were all on their phones. Just that wasn't my childhood. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it wasn't your childhood either, really. And it's just weird to me. It's weird how technology has just taken over everything.
Well, For me, I guess I would have preferred that because I hated going to the mall. I hated the mall when I was young. Like, for me, that was the 4-hour experience.
But she let out a secret. You know why she loves to go to the mall? The same reason I love to go to the mall, and that's pretzels.
Well, pretzels are good. Yeah. There are specific mall snacks, that are definitely great.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But we will end this episode out here. Thank you guys for joining us, of course. Hopefully, we will have the Anarkist back next week, and we'll probably get back to the conspiracies because that's more his thing. So we'll probably be back on that next week. But of course, if you guys have any topics you want us to talk about, where can they contact you?
Instucer@icloud.com.
And you can get in touch with me. I am at Invisiblekatana on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, as well as Facebook. And also Demetrius is the Anarkist on YouTube and at Anarkist Beats. Of course, you guys can see the picture that we have up right now. That is all the info you guys need. And you can just look us up, DM us, just comment in this video itself what you guys want us to talk about. Let us know conspiracies or not, or if you want us to do more games, more movies, more TV shows. Just let us know, and we'll do it as fast as we can. So thanks for watching.
Thanks.